Hello, everybody. Welcome to your favorite show each and every week, Rasslin and Racin, brought to you by Ardensburg Grill in Central South Carolina. Also, we want to thank our people over there at Dorsey Auto Sales in Anderson, South Carolina. Go by and see Mr. Dorsey over on Whitehall Road. He will give you a great deal on a used car, folks. I got one myself, and I'm honestly saying that. I bought me a little Chevy, and I have enjoyed the mileage, the gas. It has run well for me. I have no troubles with it. You can't say that about a lot of used cars, and Dorsey Auto Sales is really great. And also, like we said, Ardensburg Grill, make sure you go by and see Donnie and Angie. They're open 6 days a week, only closed on Monday. Got meat and 3 every day of the week. They got a salad bar. That's right, a salad bar. All you can eat salad now. Oh my God, every time you turn around, they're doing something great over at Ardensburg Grill. And of course, we'll talk to you a little bit more about our championship Ardens night. That's right, we'll have a night at Ardens where several of us podcasters will be getting together, talking a little pro wrestling, and we'll get to that next. The next thing we want to tell you about is we're going to be on tomorrow night. That's right, tomorrow night. As we've been telling you, we're coming up with a all-time pro wrestling bracket. And tomorrow night, we're going to reveal bracket 1 and bracket 2. Bracket 1 is going to be the women's all-time players versus the women's all-time players. How do you do that? We're going to do the field of 32. That's right, 32 of the greatest superstars in the women pro wrestling. Now, folks, we're going to break this down, me and Ref, each and every week. We want you to come to Ref Brandon's podcast. That's the Ref Brandon and the Todd family. You have to vote there or right here on Rasslin and Racin. That's the only 2 places you can let us know who you think should win when we give you the brackets starting tomorrow. And not only are we going to do the women tomorrow, we're going to give you the brackets for the tag teams. That's right, the tag teams. The tag teams from 1974 all the way till now. And folks, it was not easy finding women and tag teams, the 32 best. Now, I'm sure there's going to be people who say, well, you missed on so-and-so. You missed on this one. Folks, this is the teams that we have went through. We Googled. We watched wrestling. Some of these teams I've known, I've watched. Some of them are all that you see now. But when it comes to tag teams, a lot of the tag teams, there was a certain critique that we looked for. They couldn't just be thrown together, did it 6 months. I had people tell me about the Mega Powers, Hogan and Savage. They didn't tag team that very much. They did a couple pay-per-views. They did a couple small shows, but they really was not a tag team in the persona that we're looking at. We're talking about the Road Warriors. We're talking about the Midnight Express. We're gonna talk about all that tomorrow. But folks, this is something that me and Ref Brandon put together. No, we have not heard anybody do. We're going to do the top women's wrestlers, 32 all time, versus each other. And then we're going to do the tag team. And then we're going to get to the men's single. And that's going to be a field of 68. I was going to do 64. But we decided to do 68. There's going to be a play-in round for a couple guys that people were telling me they thought should be there. So, Ref Brandon, we're going to do that. But, hey, speaking of Ref Brandon, we need to bring him in here. Ref Brandon, how's it going today?
Well, I tell you what, Jay, you talked so long I almost fell asleep. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing fantastic, Jay. I hope you are as well.
All right, folks. Well, tonight we're going to go over 2 pay-per-views and, of course, NASCAR because that's what happened this weekend. And we are called Rasslin and Racin. So let's get straight to our NASCAR. Brought to you by Dorsey Auto Sales in Anderson, South Carolina on Whitehall Road. Also, we want to thank Pepsi Cola. Ref Brandon, how did it go yesterday? I heard that we had a new winner.
Well, we had Shane Van Gisbergen come home with the win. It was the Toyota Save Mart 350, which, of course, as we know by now, if you're a long-time NASCAR fan, is Sonoma. Now it's a road course, so seeing Shane Van Gisbergen win it is not shocking. but they were at a road course last week at San Diego, and he was pitiful. But he got back on track yesterday. Then we saw Chase Briscoe come home second, followed by Ty Gibbs, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, Connor Zilich, Ryan Priest, Michael McDowell, and Alex Bowman rounded out the top 10. Now, this week we're going to have the Euro 400, which will be from Chicagoland. But it's funny because not only is it Chicagoland, but it's Sunday. And, of course, July 4th is Saturday. And for years and years and years, they ran Daytona on July 4th weekend. So to see the race ran on a Sunday and it be Chicago, I know they also won Daytona last year, but it's just taken a lot of getting used to for Daytona race to no longer be in July on July 4th weekend, especially with July 4th actually being on a Saturday. But the strange part about yesterday was we talked about how it looked like for the longest time Tyler Reddick was going to run away with the regular season championship. Now, I have to go back and look because you look on Monday morning, it always says unofficial. But when I checked this morning, Denny Hamlin actually now leads the regular season championship. So after Reddick's 5-race win, not streak, but won 5 races ended, he hasn't done a whole lot.
Yep, he's had some struggles, couple of wrecks, and some other guys are starting to get. And also, we had the new in bracket thing that happened, and I understand there was an upset with Alex Bowman knocking out him. Am I correct on this?
Yeah, it's funny because they started this last year, and it's something that TNT is wanting to do to give people a reason to watch. Their part of the schedule because by the time it leaves TNT, it jumps over to NBC, and then, of course, the season wraps up. So by the time TNT gets their 5 races, pretty much, you might not know exactly what spot, but pretty much with the exception of maybe one spot, the regular season points is already wrapped up, and you're looking forward to the playoffs, and by the time the playoff starts, it's on NBC. So there's really no reason to watch the 5 races TNT carries. So this is their way to try to get fans to watch the TNT 5-race schedule. And they did it last year. And if I'm not mistaken, last year it came down to, I believe, Ty Dillon and Ty Gibbs. And people were talking about how Ty Dillon had, never done anything. But, during the 5-race tournament bracket, everybody he got matched up with, he finished better than. That's all you got to do. If you finish 30th and your opponent's 31st, you advance.
Yep.
So last year it came down to those two. They got the idea from the NBA, but it's also good for the drivers because if you win this, you get, I want to say, $1 million bonus.
Yep.
So it's worth winning.
Yep, and it makes it intriguing. Maybe not that intriguing, but it does make it intriguing. I never would have thought Alex Bowman would have knocked him out because Bowman has just been awful this year. But, hey, like you said, all it took was Ty Dillon to have some races where the top guys have some bad luck, and he got into it. So he gets to go on for another week. All right, Ref, what else did we find out in NASCAR? Didn't Shane also win the Busch Series?
I believe
he
did, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, back-to-back. Yeah,
I think, he did, and Connor Zilich finished second in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race. So Shane Van Gisbergen pretty much became the modern-day Boris Said, where if there's a road course anywhere, Truck Series or the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, they want Shane in the car or trucks. They know he's probably going to finish at least in the top 5. So he's pretty much become the modern-day Boris Said or Ron Fellows, where he's going to be out there at every racetrack that's a road course.
And honestly, this Chicago race, I don't like a street race taking July 4th. That should be Daytona. I understand Daytona's trying to be a part of the playoffs, but I think this is just the wrong way to go about it. It should stay July 4th. I miss the old Firecracker 400, as they used to call it, and the fireworks show afterwards, and sometimes before it. I mean, it always had a great race. I mean, with Earnhardt and Cale Yarborough, and I know people probably don't even know half the guys I'm talking about right now, but it was always just a great race to watch. It was one of the first night races too.
Yeah, we did talked last week about how they had a new driver in the 21 car, but I think we forgot to mention who it was. It's Jesse Love, in case nobody looked it up. I think we talked about there being a new driver, but didn't talk about who it was. But speaking of new drivers, you mentioned Alex Bowman a while ago, and, he's been the guy supposedly that's on the hot seat now every year. But the fact that we've raced more than half the season and we're almost into July and they still have not announced he's leaving, it makes me think he's going to be back in that 48 car next year. I think the way he's ran this year, I don't see any reason why they would re-sign him. But the fact that it's July almost and they haven't let him go makes me believe he's back next year. But the reason why NASCAR moved Daytona was because they try to make the end of the regular season as exciting as possible. And with Daytona being a plate race, you're liable to have a 25-car pileup in the middle of the race. So now they have Daytona at the end of the regular season, thinking that it may, shuffle one or two drivers toward the back of the, 15th, 16th place. So if you're going to move Daytona from July, then something has to take its place in July. But, you probably will see somebody that's like 15th or 16th fall out and somebody 18th get in because they were able to avoid the 20-car pilot that Daytona normally has some point in the race.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, there you go. There was our NASCAR brought to you by Dorsey Auto Sales in Anderson, South Carolina. Make sure you go by see Dorsey Auto Sales. They will do a good job. And tell them that Rasslin and Racin sent you, and they'll give you a little bit of a discount. That's right. Discount. People always love a discount. Anyway, now let's get to our pro wrestling update brought to you by Arden's Burger and Grill. Go by and see them, where we're going to have a Rasslin and Racin burger coming soon, Ref Brandon.
Awesome.
And we'll tell you a little bit more about that. I'm still getting with Donnie on this. But anyway, we're going to go over Night of Champions. If anybody saw it, you didn't miss anything. Anyway, I shouldn't say that. 5 matches, and Ref, well, actually, no, it was 7, right? If you count
6. It was 6 matches.
Yeah, if you count the buy-in matches. This card did not look spectacular when you seen it. The King of the Ring matches kind of were okay. We kind of knew what was going to happen, but, we just kind of went our way with it, tried to make some thoughts that could happen, and the only thing that happened was we got a new champion. We'll talk about that in a second, but Ref, tell us who won.
It's funny because as you're talking, I'm sitting here looking and adding up the total amount of actual in-ring wrestling, and the only reason I've done that is because it was last month or 2 months ago when we talked about a pay-per-view where the whole thing was like not even an hour's worth of wrestling, but the 6 matches Saturday was a grand total of 1 hour and 23 minutes. So more than 55 minutes, but still, it's bad when you can watch Raw or Dynamite or SmackDown, whatever TV show it is that you're watching, and see more wrestling on there than what you see on a pay-per-view. And it used to be the TV matches were short to make you want to buy the pay-per-view. But now the TV matches are longer than what you see on a pay-per-view. The Obafemi beat Jey Uso in the first match. The King of the Ring tournament final, that match was 8 minutes long. And that's pay-per-view match, 8 minutes. And then we had Io Sky beat Liv Morgan for the Queen of the Ring. And then in the steel cage match, Seth Rollins beat Braun Breaker. And then Trick Williams beat Ricky Saints for the men's U.S. championship. And Tiffany Stratton beat Jade Cargill for the women's U.S. championship. That was the worst match of the night. Thank God it was only 7.5 minutes long. And then the main event saw Sami Zayn beat Cody Rhodes and Gunther. A triple threat match for the undisputed WWE championship. That was our 6 matches, Jay.
And folks, did you hear what he said? He didn't really get excited about it. Sami Zayn is the new undisputed WWE champion. We know Saudi Arabia loves Sami Zayn. He came out with the tops on, out of respect, out of showing his love for the Saudi Arabians. And Ref, neither me or you picked Sami Zayn because that just was not something we thought would happen. And the WWE pulled the trigger. Now, whether this is a short or a long run, it just seems out of place.
Yeah, when we did our predictions last week, I didn't pick Sami Zayn because I thought for sure they're not giving this guy the championship. But for some reason, deep down inside my heart, I had a feeling he was getting it because him trying to go on his heel turn, and Sami Zayn never turns heel, and him turning heel, kind of leading into it, kind of made me think, okay, he's fixing to get it. I thought, no way they give Sami the world title, but I think they're doing it because the fans have complained for so long that he needs the belt that they're doing it just for the fans to shut up, like we talked last week about hearing the fans. There's been so many fans whine about it that I think they're doing it just to get those fans to shut up. But I don't think it'll be a long title reign, and I hope it's not a long title reign. But Sami Zayn is a phenomenal wrestler, but I've always looked at him more like an underdog and a guy that, chases the belt and tries to get it, but just somehow, some way, never actually achieves it. But I'm hoping this storyline leads back into, since the bloodline thing's never going to end, that this somehow leads back into Sami getting back in the bloodline.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I always saw Sami Zayn as your U.S. or IC champion. I never saw him as a world champion, and he held both of those titles, and he's also been a tag champ. So I don't know.
I know it makes sense because they go to Saudi Arabia, 4, 5, 6 times a year now, and he's so loved over there that when you go over there, you're going to sell millions of tickets, knowing that guy's your world champion. But I think the next time they go there, he'll be done lost it. I really do.
Yeah, this is what I'm hearing from fans. A lot of them are in a lot of ways shocked, but kind of glad he's got the title off of Cody Rhodes. But they're hoping Cody is not the one that gets the title back from him. They're really hoping that Cody goes into something else and goes maybe after the world title and leaves the Undisputed and just kind of, he's wrote his story. They're tired of the story. Now it's time to let someone else hold the title, like a Gunther or someone to that aspect. Ubafemi, we know, will be a champion. He's probably going to do it at WrestleMania. We just found out on Raw that on SummerSlam, Ubafemi will not be facing a world champion because he's going to be facing Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Because I don't think Owen is ready to be world champion right now.
Yep.
So I don't want to rush him.
Well, that was the reason why I told you I didn't think he was going to win it, because I just couldn't see him putting him in a world title match at SummerSlam and have him lose right now. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't think he's losing to Brock in Hell in a Cell. But we'll see. This has been a very interesting night. All right. Now we're going to go to a pay-per-view, folks, that actually gave you your money's worth. And 3 of the matches on this card, I would have paid for just those matches. One match in particular surprised the fool out of me, and we're going to go through that. So, Ref, we're going to go through these. Give me just a second. We'll get it back up here. I had it. All right. So, folks, we're going to go through everything. We're going to go through the buy-in. Drilla Maloney defeated Daniel Garcia. It was a buy-in match. I'm not really going to go through some of these buy-in matches. They really wasn't what we're worried about right now. Micaiah defeated Sky Blue with Julia Hart in a Survival of the Fittest qualifying match. So she will be this Wednesday in the qualifying match for the Survival of the Fittest. The winner is going to be the next TBS champion. Divine Dominion. Oh my goodness. Ref Brandon, did you get a chance to watch this one? Defeated Thunder Rosa and Olympia. And this match, folks, was actually a great match considering it was the women's tag titles. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, and honestly, that match with the talent in that match, I think it should have been on the main card, but at the same time, if you put that on the main card, you've got to take, one of the main card matches and put it on the pre-show, or make the main card last till 3 o'clock in the morning. But that match should have been on the main card.
Yeah, it was actually very good. Thunder Rosa and Olympia really gave Divine Dominion a hell of a match. And that's something, folks, that we talk about with AEW. Even though these matches, some of them were thrown together, even though they're thrown together, they seem to tell a great story. And I'm telling you, this night was full of stories. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, Ref, but AEW is really getting the storytelling in the matches themselves. They might not give you 4 or 5 or 6 months of a story, but they are pulling you into the match. And even though sometimes you might know who's going to win, they give you a sense that, you know what, they might not. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think they've been doing a lot better lately as far as the storytelling, because at one time, AEW by far had the best talent, but none of the wrestlers had true gimmicks, and nobody had a true storyline. They were just taking guys, put them in a match, and the match meant nothing, and they were just bland, generic wrestlers. But over the past, I got to say, 6 months to a year, they've done a whole lot better job of actually trying to give guys gimmicks and, understand what their gimmicks are, and they're actually having compelling storylines. Now, most of them don't last too long, but at least it's something in the match that means something, not just two random guys wrestling for no reason.
Yep. All right, the pay-per-view starts. We have Brett Brandon's favorite team, the Young Bucks, and they go up against El Sky Team and the Unbound Company, and this match was insane. The fans were into this match. I mean, this pay-per-view, folks, if you go back and watch it, if you did not watch it, the fans were just in this pay-per-view from start to finish. The crowd was hot. You could tell that they knew that they was going to be watching a great show. And the Young Bucks pulled it out, Ref. What was your thoughts on that match?
Yeah, we made our predictions last week, and I think you and I both picked the Young Bucks, but I never write this stuff down, so I could be wrong, but I think we both picked the Young Bucks in this match. But I'm a big fan of Mystico and Mascara Dorada. I don't know if they'll do anything with them as far as, give them like a tag team push, but, they're fun to watch in the ring, and they have excellent dynamic chemistry.
Actually, I did not pick the Young Bucks. I picked the El Sky Team, so you actually got that one right. Yeah, I did not pick them. I thought it was El Sky Team. I just thought that the way those two guys play, which I wasn't sure if Mystico was going to be there because he was having some visa troubles, but they did get him in there just in time. All right, the next match, Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. This was a classic, Ref Brandon. Kenny Omega gets the win, but I'm telling you, this match was just, it's hard to describe it because it just, every time you turned around, you thought it was going to end and it didn't. It just, the fall counts in some of these matches and the attempts to get the wins, it was just great to watch.
Yeah, it's hard to find a Kenny Omega match that wasn't at least good. They might not all be like 5-star, A+ matches, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find a match with Kenny Omega in it that's a C or D. He just doesn't do that.
Yep, and Zack Sabre Jr., same for him. I mean, this guy, I'm so glad that AEW might be getting him pretty soon.
I hope so. For their sake, they need him, because he is really good.
All right, then we go to Jon Moxley defending his AEW gold against the ROH World Champion, Bandito, and this match was great. For a Jon Moxley match, I actually gave it an A. I was looking when we talked about this. We figured, oh, it's Moxley. It's going to be probably a B plus at the best. I actually gave this match an A. I think Bandito brought out the best in him without him having to go crazy and feel like he had to pour blood everywhere.
Yeah, it's hard. You're never going to find a John Moxley match that's an A plus match, but for it to be a John Moxley match, it was good. It was just good to see Moxley get to go out there and actually, get to wrestle without all the outside stuff going on.
Yep, and Moxley retained his title. The next matchup it seemed like it was a Death Rider Road tonight. Shota Umano defeated Pac to retain his IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. And Pac and Umano, they did a great job in the ring too. Some of the moves, off the top rope, we already know Pac's a great wrestler, but they brought the show and showed just what IWGP is all about.
Yeah, IWGP has been around for many years. There was a time back, I believe, I'm not mistaken, when WCW was around, where they would work with IWGP. That tells you how long they've been around. They've always had phenomenal wrestlers, but it's usually, for the most part, it's always Japanese guys that people can't say their names, can't pronounce their names. So it's a little easier now with Google. But back in those days, like, you would like somebody, but you couldn't follow them because you couldn't say their name, so you know where to find them at.
Yeah.
But now with Google, it helps some. But IWGP's been around for a long time, and it's always been good. And I also think the Dudley Boys at one time held either the ECW tag titles and the IWGP titles, or the Raw tag team titles and the IWGP title. But I think they had two belts at one time, and one of them was IWGP.
Well, the Steiner brothers was the WCW and IWGP champions because they beat Fujinami and I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, the Steiner brothers were the first ones to do both as far as hold two titles from two different organizations.
Yeah, that just shows you how long that it's been around. But I think it's been around long, and the NJPW has.
Yeah, it has.
It's been around for a long time, but they have never been able to get like a secure, long-term American TV deal, and that's what's hurt them. But I think I've always thought that it's because of the fact that most of their talent is Japanese guys, and most Americans are not going to watch Japanese wrestling. You might watch a Japanese guy against an American guy, but you're not going to watch 3 hours of Japanese wrestling. Most of it, just like the World Cup. You look at soccer right now, the World Cup's going on, and most Americans don't care nothing about soccer because you know that America is not going to win, so you don't follow it. Well, it's kind of the same way there. There's a great talent, but most Americans aren't going to watch 3 hours of Japanese wrestling. You're just not going to do it.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you might be wrong a little bit of that because if you look at the World Cup viewership, it is way up. We're talking Super Bowl numbers right now, and it's for matches that you wouldn't think would pull Super Bowl numbers, but and actually New Japan is actually on Comet, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it is.
Yeah, I think I've watched it a couple times, but I agree with you. It's definitely changed a lot more, and I loved it. I think this Forbidden Door needs to be everybody. I'd love to see a couple WWE guys come in, MLW, AAA. I think if you had a Forbidden Door no, you know what? We need to get off that because that's a whole nother subject. We could be talking all night with that one. All right. Let's get on. Thekla got her revenge on Stardom, and boy, Ref Brandon, this was a good match. Her and Starlight Kid put on a show for the Women's AEW Championship, and Thekla gets the win and also gets the mask.
Yeah, if you look at how young Starlight Kid is, she has a chance to have a extremely bright future.
Yeah.
She's really good already, and she is young.
Yeah, and she gave Thekla all she wanted, but Thekla did get the win. She is the champion. And if you watch the media scrum, she's a handful too. She said, as someone asked her, "Well, what's her future hold?" She said, "Well, I'm gonna go back to the hotel, have a couple of dry martinis, and then go to the strip club." I was like, good Lord. Mercy, mercy me. All right. Well, Ref Brandon, we go from there to Adam Copeland and Christian taking on the Dogs. And they retain their AEW World Tag Team Championship. But, folks, we get our first returner from the injury list. We're talking about the Bang Bang Gang. Jay White returns at AEW, and he makes sure that Christian and he makes sure that Adam get the win over the Dogs. What was your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was a fantastic match, especially with the age of Adam and Christian Cage. I thought it was an amazing match. I'm hoping they keep the Dogs together for a while. I think they've got a chance to have a bright future as a tag team as well.
I think they should put the ROH tag titles on them real quick. Honestly, I just think they let them be the ROH champions and still wrestle in AEW. I think they are great. I agree with you. They're a great tag team. And I think in some ways they carried Christian and Adam in this match.
Well, they had to, because you're not going to get two guys that are in their mid-50s to wrestle for 15 minutes plus if they're doing all the work. It's not going to happen.
How about that double spear between I can't remember the one's name from the Dogs. My God, Finley and Copeland looked at each other from the turnbuckles and then went straight at each other and speared each other in the match. That was just unreal. I had never seen anybody do that.
What's funny is if you watch David Finlay, he's actually a really good wrestler. And, you know, his father was Fit Finlay, and Fit was around forever, but Fit was more of a brawler. So seeing David actually wrestle is shocking when you remember his dad was more of a brawler than he was a wrestler.
Yep. All right, folks. At this point, we still have an A pay-per-view, and we have got to go to the three main events, and all three were great main event matches. That's right, all three. We're not talking about one, not two. All three of these were A matches. One was an A+++. And we're going to get to a match that we thought would not be an A. We're talking about the Women's Owen Hart Tournament finale. Mercedes Moné defeats Maya World. And Moné controlled this match, but you know what, Ref? She actually showed she knows how to wrestle, and she gave this girl a wrestling clinic in the ring, but at the same time allowed her to hit her high spots and show that she is someone that could be a future main eventer in AEW.
Yeah, and she's also very, 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 I'm not going to say extremely young. She's not Starlight Kid young, but she's still very young, so she's got a bright future ahead of her as well. Yeah,
and Moné showed me a different side. I know they're kind of putting her on the babyface side, but she showed me a lot in this match. I was not expecting her to give Maya World a chance. I figured she would, show her true colors and just kind of be, the CEO. But she actually gave this girl a chance to do her spots and at the same time showed her who and why she's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And that's what we wanted from Sasha Banks / Mercedes Moné when she came to AEW, but we didn't get it. We got someone who was doing promos that nobody wanted to hear, would get in the ring and did not show but half of what she was when she was in WWE. But this match brought us back to why we loved Sasha Banks, not why we hated her.
Yeah, it was good because there for a while, even back to her Sasha Banks days in WWE, she was for a long time known as she was a botch fest. Every match she was in, she was going to botch 12 things. But yesterday was really, really, really good.
All right. Well, now we get into the circle cage match. That's right. It was in a circle cage. This match, they had too many people in it for them to just put the cage around the poles. They made a huge circle, kind of like their version of the chamber, the elimination chamber. I love the cage. I think this was a great idea. If you're going to have this many guys, 12 guys, you couldn't do it in a square cage. It just, there would be no room. What was your thought on the cage first?
Yeah, unless you've got an 80-foot ring or an 80-foot cage, it's hard to get 12 people in any kind of cage or regular wrestling ring, because every time you move, there's somebody beside you, somebody in front of you, somebody behind you, because there's just too many guys. So it's hard to pull off a match with 12 guys, no matter what kind of ring you got. But I do think that was a different feel than a regular cage match.
Yeah, and unlike Elimination Chamber, which they had the raised floor that would go around the squared circle, it just went straight to the floor. So when you got through out of the ring, you hit the concrete and then you would hit the cage. So it was a lot better. Everybody was calling it the Lion's Den. I think that was a good idea, the way they had it. But anyway, the Briscoe team beats MJF's team, and ref, we called this one. Andrade turned on MJF's team when he went to hit Briscoe with the ring, and Andrade tears off his shirt, shows F.U. Don and F.U. MJF. And now Mark Briscoe this Wednesday night will get a shot at the world title. What was your thoughts on this one?
I don't know if they will, but I hope they give Mark Briscoe a world championship run. Because to do all this, to get the shot, and then lose it would be killer. But if he does get it, I think it'll be a very, very, very short title reign. It'll just be, hey, I'm Mark Briscoe and I won the world title, and that'll be about it. But, anytime you have a match with that many guys in it, it's not going to be an A-plus match, because you can't have a lot of actual wrestling. You just can't. But it was a good match.
Yeah, and everybody got to hit their spots. That's something that I noticed from the start is they was making sure that production on this was very good, because they moved it around. They tried, it's like they knew when so-and-so was going to do his move. So-and-so was going to do his move. And they just kept making sure that everybody got their spots. The fans were into it because they were watching the TV thing, because everybody started noticing, hey, we can't see what's going on the other side of the ring, and that's when so-and-so went through a table. This is when so-and-so did Kyle Fletcher got just cremated in this match. It was a great match. I didn't give it an A+, but for a cage match, it was an A.
Yeah, that's about all you can expect out of any kind of gimmick match with that many guys in it, because it's kind of like a Royal Rumble. A Rumble might be good, but it can't be ever an A+, because when you got that many guys in the ring, all you can do is punches and kicks, because there's no room to do anything.
Yeah. And then, folks, now we go to the main event. This match was worth, I would have paid $100 to see it, ref. This match, these two guys, Kyle Fletcher, Swerve Strickland, for the Owen Hart Championship and to be in the main event at All In Wimbledon. This match, I think, is going to be the match of the year. I don't see how you can get better than this one. I'm sure with Will Ospreay in it and Swerve Strickland in a different match. This match, it was just from start to finish. Everybody kind of felt, and ref, me and you admitted, Will Ospreay was going to win this match because we're going to Wimbledon, and that was his dream. That's what he wanted to do. But Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay told a story that, you know what, nothing's guaranteed. And there was so many times we thought Ospreay won, but Swerve Strickland kicked out, and we thought, oh, wait a second, they're going to give it to Swerve. He's going to be a two-time Owen champion, two-time win over Ospreay. But they just told a great story, and then the Death Riders coming out at the end, lifting him up. That it was just a great ending, and Strickland and Ospreay even said to each other after this that, you know, we don't hate each other, but you know what, you go your way, I go mine. What was your thoughts on it, Riff?
I'm not that with you as far as, you know, the match, you know, telling a story. But we've discussed before that, you know, the last couple pay-per-views they've had a couple of matches that, you know, you pretty much know going into them who's going to win. And so it kind of takes away the fun of, you know, the shock factor because you expect the winner to be the winner. But just because you know who's going to win the match doesn't mean the match can't be great, all except for the finish. You know, if you let the finish ruin the whole entire match, then, you know, you're a bad wrestling fan. Yeah. But just because you know who's going to win the match doesn't mean the match can't be great. And I thought the match was great.
I did too. This was an A+++ match. And you know, these two guys, the last time they faced each other, put on a great match. I mean, it's like if you want to put on a great match, put Ospreay and Swerve Strickland against each other, or they seem to elevate those who they go against. I mean, we saw what Strickland did with Moxley. We saw what Ospreay has done with Fletcher. I mean, we've seen some great matches in AEW with these two guys versus whoever they face. Hangman Adam Page versus, you know, whoever. I mean, it's just unreal what these guys can do and how they elevate other wrestlers, just like you was saying earlier with Kenny Omega and Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, I think when you go right down the list, AEW's got the best wrestlers, and they know how to tell the best stories when they're in the ring because they know each other so well now. And even these guys that are coming in from different organizations, these guys have wrestled each other. Omega has wrestled Sabre Jr. before in New Japan. So my thoughts was this pay-per-view was an A. It was worth the price of admission. Everybody got to see great matches. This is what a pay-per-view should be. Now, I know, folks, it lasted forever, it seemed like. But you know what? If I'm going to pay $54, I want to see a lot of wrestling action. I don't want to see commercials. I don't want to see 5-minute matches. I want to see a story told. I want to see something that's going to put my butt in a seat. It's like a movie. I want to see more. If I'm going to pay $54 to go to a movie, because folks, that's what you're paying when you go to a movie. You pay $12 a piece to go in for you, your wife. Then you go in, you get popcorn and a drink, and that's like $30. I mean, you're paying almost $50. Am I correct, Ref?
Yeah, I think you're right. Somebody at work told me a few weeks back they went and watched a daytime movie, and typically most of the time at most theaters, you know, you pay a little bit less to go during the day because most folks like going when it's dark outside. And I think they told me their ticket was $18.
Yeah.
And most people, if you go to a movie, even if you go alone, you go to a movie, you're going to buy a popcorn and a drink. And if you go to the theater, a drink is like $8 by itself.
10. It's $10. Well, 10? Yeah, it's $10 for a large drink. I mean, they got the thing where you get 2 drinks and a popcorn, but it's $30. That's a lot of money for after you done paid $12 a piece to get in or $18 a piece to get in. I mean, you know, that's a lot of money. I mean, yeah, now you're sitting in recliner seats instead of the old version movie seats, but still, that's a lot of money, Riff.
It is. You know, it goes back to what you and I have been talking about with wrestling fans, how they're just never happy anymore because, yeah, pay-per-views cost a lot, but if you spend $40 and it's over in 2 hours or 2.5 hours, you complain that it wasn't long enough. but then you spend $45-$50 and it's 5 hours, you complain because it's too long. So where is the happy medium? I know back in the day when I was in middle school and high school, when boxing was so, popular back in the days of Oscar De La Hoya and Lennox Lewis and all those guys, you had a lot of those fights where, you might have the fights leading up to the main event, but we all know when you spend $75 to watch a boxing main event, you're watching to see George Foreman or Muhammad Ali or Riddick Bowe, and then you set all that time, and then the main event is a first round knockout. If I spent $75 and waited 5 hours and a boxing fight lasted 45 seconds, I'd be ticked. I mean, because I feel like I got shafted.
Yeah. I remember paying. I only paid for like 3 different fights. The first one was Sugar Ray Leonard, and he went the full 10 rounds. That was worth the money. But the last 2, I went in halvers with a friend for Mike Tyson. I knew I shouldn't have done that, but Tyson, every time he got in, it was like he knocked him out within the first round, second round. The one that was second round, he was just because he was playing with the guy in the first round. Then when he went to the ring, he went after the first round. He went over to him. He said, "I'm gonna knock you out next round." I'll be darned, he didn't do it. He went over there, popped the guy 3 times, and that was it. The match was over. So
it's kind of like, what do you want? Because you spend $75 and it's it goes all 10 or all 12 rounds. You're like, well, dang, I just watched an hour boxing fight, and it was just 2 guys just walking around the ring dancing. But then you spend $75 for a first round knockout. It's like, man, I got shafted. I spent $75 in the fight lasted 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's another reason why, folks, that we tell you to go support Ref Brandon and all his buddies at Independent Wrestling, because you're not going to pay all that high price. You're going to pay a good price. You're going to see great wrestling, great stories. And not only that, you get to see the boss, because when the boss is in the ring or she's outside the ring walking around, that's worth the price of admission altogether. So what we're telling you now is go out, support independent wrestling, go out and support them. Folks, it's the best family entertainment you can get. That's right, I said family entertainment. These guys are really good, and it's worth the price of admission. So when Ref tells you he's going somewhere, make sure you go out and support him. That's what I say. All right, Ref. Tomorrow night, we're going to be back doing this again. We're going to be doing our first brackets, and I sent Ref Brandon the tag team bracket today. He's getting the women's bracket done by tomorrow, and tomorrow night we'll go through who faces who in the first round and our best of 32. That's right, 32 women's and men's tag team brackets. And it's going to be something. And when we get done, we're going to have some other tag podcasters with us that will be giving us their opinions on what we do. But me and Ref are going to talk during the week, and we will find out who we think. And make sure you go and put your votes on Ref Brandon and the Todd family videos. You must put your votes there. Make sure you put, I'm going to just hypothetically say this, Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. And I say that because they're not in the same brackets. I can tell you that right now. If it's them, you would put Charlotte. You would put whoever's in the next bracket. Make sure you put bracket A, bracket B. That way we know who you got as far as your winners. Of course, it'll be 2 winners in one bracket and 2 winners in the next bracket. So it's going to be great. Make sure you put your winners in Ref Brandon and the Todd family, or right here on the Rasslin and Racin Podcast. Either one of us two will take those answers. We will talk it over, and then we'll come up with the winners, and we will announce them next Tuesday night. That's right. We're going to be doing 2 shows a week for a little while, just trying to get through these brackets before we get to the men's. The men's is going to be more fun. It's going to be a 68 bracket. That's right. 68. It's going to be just like basketball. It's going to be our version of March Madness, but in pro wrestling. And we'll be getting with you. Ref, should you give them, go ahead and give them who the number 1 seeds are in the women's bracket.
in the women's bracket,
Yep.
we got Charlotte Flair. We got the Fabulous Moolah.
Oh.
We got Medusa.
Ah.
And we got Oscar.
There we go. What's your thoughts on those 4, Riff?
Well, I think it's good because my wife and I were talking about it earlier today when I was talking about I was going to break down the tag team bracket because, it's like March Madness. We have 8 teams in each bracket, and there's 4 brackets. And I thought, well, I could kind of do it like March Madness where you just take a really good tag team and put them with a really bad tag team. That way, all the good tag teams win. So when you get down to the end, you're not stuck with, some random tag team. You're down to the best of the best. And I thought, well, we could also do it to where we take like an old school tag team and put them with a new school tag team. That way, you don't have a matchup of 2 old school teams or 2 new school teams. So when it gets down to the end, maybe you won't have all old tag teams or all new tag teams. You'll have old and new both. That way, you got a variety. So I was like, what do you think we should do, baby? I think it's good that way. Like Charlotte Flair is modern day, and then Oscar is modern day, but then you have Fabulous Moolah and Medusa, who are, more of the, on the legend side. So you have 4 number 1 seeds, 2 are modern day, and then 2 are on the legend side. I think that's good.
All right, and I'm going to give you our 4 number 1 seeds in the tag team division. Number 1, the Road Warriors, and I don't think anybody would debate us on that one. Number 1 in another bracket, the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. Number 1 in another bracket, the Usos. And number 1 in the final bracket, the Rock and Roll Express. What's your thoughts on those 4, Riff?
It's about the same way where you've got a couple of, legendary tag teams and a couple of, modern day tag teams. And it's amazing because, back in the days of Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express, back in those days, you had a lot of tag teams like the Steiner brothers, for example, that were a tag team for 8, 9, 10 years plus. Harlem Heat was around together for a long time. And nowadays, most tag teams don't tag team more than 2 to 3 years, and they break them up. The Usos, but they broke up in between and got back together. They ain't been together this whole entire time, nonstop. But you just don't see a lot of tag teams anymore that last. It's like as soon as they make it big as a tag team, they split them up.
Yep. And that's something we looked at, folks, when it came to the tag teams. We wanted teams that had actually worked together. Also in this bracket, you will not see someone that, let's just say, I'll just bring one up, Dusty Rhodes and Nikita, and then you'd see Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA. You wouldn't see that because we're not putting a guy in there twice. So all these tag teams are guys that are just in there for one time, and they're because they was with another person and they wrestled for quite a while. We didn't just get guys that were thrown together. We wanted to have great tag teams, guys that were in there for a long time, did their job, and won titles. I mean, not all of them won championships, but they were great tag teams, and that's what we was looking for. Same with the women. Not all of them held the world title. Some of them held the IC or whatever, but we got a great mixture. And folks, we also made sure that TNA was representative. And speaking of TNA, Ref, Nick Nemeth, new world champion.
Yeah, he is, and this is one of the matches we predicted last week, and I want to say I picked Santana and you picked Nemeth, but I can't remember. But
yeah, that was right.
I thought so, but I really could have saw that match going either way. I just thought that since that's their WrestleMania, their biggest show of the year, and I thought, well, since everybody thinks Nemeth's going to win, that's too obvious, so Santana will win. But I had no problem with Nemeth winning. I've always been a huge Nick Nemeth fan, even back to the Dolph Ziggler days. The only thing that I've always thought holds him back and always has is he just doesn't sell tickets. His in-ring ability is great. He's one of the best sellers ever. But it's just nobody buys a ticket to go watch Nick Nemeth. They just don't. And I think that's what's always held him back, because the guy's got talent. It's just for some reason he just doesn't sell. You'll go to a show if he's on the card, but you don't buy a ticket to the show to see him. He's just added. He's just there.
Yep. And something else, folks, is the year is 2026, and the Hardys are the World Tag Team Champions, and so is Edge and Christian. Ref, did we think we would see that in 2026, that both of these tag teams would be holding World Heavyweight Gold?
Especially not. Now, I know that Edge and Christian are older than Matt and Jeff, but, for the first 15 years of their career, Matt and Jeff were high flyers that were just crazy, and jumped off scaffolds and jumped off ladders, and I never thought their careers would last this long, especially as bow-legged as Matt Hardy is. Between the fact that he's so bow-legged or pigeon-toed, and he's been so high-flying his whole life, I thought by now his knees would be shot, but he's still going.
All right, well, Ref, tell them where they can find you.
On YouTube, just about every single day, at Ref Brandon and the Todd family. It's mainly college football and wrestling, but I do talk NASCAR and baseball and basketball, and then I do top 10 countdowns that sometimes aren't about any kind of sport or wrestling whatsoever.
All right, there you go, folks. And also make sure you catch us here. We'll be back here tomorrow night. So with that, we're going to say thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been Rasslin and Racin with Ref Brandon of the Todd family, and also Jay. Thanks for joining us. So long, everybody.